Welcome to Cory's Stories. Are you ready to meditate with Cory? Are you ready to meditate with Cory? Make sure that you're comfortable in your bed. You're wearing your cozy pajamas. Everything is right in the world so that you can relax your body and let go of your busy, busy day. Corriannda was busy in the kitchen. She was creating a very special magical spell for her home. It was winter and it was cold outside. When she was very small, her grandma taught her to make her steeping pot. A steeping pot is when you put magical ingredients inside of water and you put the pan on the stove. You let it boil, turn it down to simmer, and then let the whole home smell absolutely beautiful. She'd chosen special ingredients for the stewing pot, the steaming pot. She took all the jars off the shelf in her special kitchen. She reached for a glass jar of cloves. Then she reached for a glass jar of dried orange peel. Then she reached for a glass jar full of cinnamon sticks. She took down the glass jar that had cardamoms in. Cardamom is a special spice that they use in India a lot to cook with. It's green and it looks like a little seed, a little tiny fingernail-size pod that has seeds inside of it. And they taste and smell a very particular way. She had another jar that had star of anise in it. Star of anise is a special spice that's used again in India for lots of different recipes. Star of anise again has its own special flavor, and it smells like aniseed. It tastes like aniseed, and it's shaped like a star. That's why it's called Star of Anise. She took down a big glass jar of black peppercorns, another jar with rosemary sprigs in it, dried rosemary sprigs that she cut from the bush outside in the garden. She had a jar that had chamomile in it. She used the chamomile a lot to make tea because it helped her sleep at night. But this particular steaming pot, she wanted chamomile so it created that cozy, comfortable, relaxed kind of atmosphere and aroma in her home. So chamomile was perfect. Chamomile were like white, tiny flowers that had a big bulbous yellow middle. They looked a little bit like a daisy, but they smelt very different. She also had a very fancy, ornate jar that she kept her rose petals in. She got that down off the shelf too. She lined all the jars up and then she placed her hand on top of each jar. This was just to check. She was checking with her intuition to see if each one of the ingredients that she'd chosen felt right. All she did was put a hand on the jar and close her eyes and take a big, deep breath. When she did that, she felt like she connected to the jar. And she could tell, is this the ingredient that I need today? She would ask that question. Sometimes she'd change her mind and get a feeling that it wasn't right, and she'd put the jar back on the shelf. But most of the time, she was already tuned into her tummy. She could feel in her tummy her intuition saying, yes, get that off the shelf. No, definitely not that. Yes, I need some of this. No, definitely not that. Each of the different ingredients had different magical powers. For example, the rosemary was very cleansing. Rosemary is antibacterial, so it cleans your space. So the fragrance that was going to come from the steaming pot would clean her space. Black pepper had a lot of energy, a lot of fire. And within that fire, there was action. She wanted her space to feel full of energy, active energy that made her accomplish things. It made her feel like she wanted to tidy up her space, or it made her feel like she wanted to work on some special spells. Be creative. That's what the black pepper did. It sped things along. It gave her a push and a shove. The cinnamon smelt warm and comforting like a hug. The orange peel smelt fresh and clean. The cloves and the star of anise made her home smell very aromatic, very unusual, intriguing. She wanted intrigue and interest in her home, something exciting. And that's what those two ingredients provided. The rose petals filled her space with a sense of love and peace and warmth. The chamomile made her feel relaxed, cozy and comfortable. She opened each one of the jars one at a time and again used her intuition. There was no rule on how much she needed to put into the steaming pot. She could put whatever she wanted, whatever she felt was necessary. When she did this, she always felt like a wild woman. No rules. She didn't have to follow a recipe or anything. She could just use her intuition. She could say, I need a spoon of this. I need a handful of this. I need a pinch of this. I need 3 shakes of this. Whatever came into her mind was exactly the amount that she trusted she needed to put into her stewing pot. One at a time, she felt into the ingredients and trusted her tummy to know exactly how much to put in. And that's exactly what she did. Then she got her special wooden spoon, the one that she loved so much, and she started to stir all of the ingredients together. And as she stirred the ingredients together, she put intentions into the action. So she didn't just randomly stir the ingredients. She closed her eyes and stirred the mixture. She She said out loud, "Make this steaming pot perfect for my home. Make it everything I desire. Make the aromas do their magic. Make the energy from the aromas do their magic. Let them swirl and twirl and move around this space. Cleanse it, purify it, make it feel full of love and happiness. Energize it, rejuvenate it. Do your magic, steaming pot." She opened her eyes and noticed that the mixture was starting to come to a boil. She allowed the steaming pot to come to a full boil on the stove before she turned it down to a very low heat. The heat had to be low because she was going to walk away and leave it. If she left the heat too high, it would boil away all the water, and that isn't what she wanted. So she turned it down really, really low, so there was barely any heat, but there was still steam coming off the mixture. And that steam was what was doing the magic. The steam started to flow up into the air and send the aroma of all the ingredients throughout her home. Her house smelled wonderful. Content with her steaming pot, Corriannda went over to a desk that she kept nearby in the kitchen, the desk where she prepared spells and wrote out different spells in her journal. She opened up her witchypoo journal, the one that she keeps all her spells in. She took it to a new page, and on the new page she wrote, "House-warming steaming pot recipe." While it was all fresh in her mind, she wrote down everything that she did with those ingredients that she used. And next to it, she wrote down the amounts, so she would remember, if she wanted to create the exact same thing. If she ever wanted to duplicate it, here it was in her spell book. Corriannda knew that most of the time, being a witch, she liked to just fly off and do whatever she wanted. Like I said, she wasn't really particular about following recipes unless it was something that was very strict and she had to, and the ingredients had to be exact. So maybe she would never use this recipe again. Maybe she would just use her intuition the next time. She would wild woman it and do whatever she wanted. But it was important, being a witch, to make sure that you take notes of everything that you create. That way, in the future, she can look back on years and years of different creations that she's made, different recipes. After Corriannda wrote everything down in her journal, she picked up a book that she was reading at the moment and she went over and sat in her cozy chair close to the fireplace. The fireplace was crackling and popping. It was letting out a lot of heat that made her room feel super cozy and warm. And the smell of the steam pot was just perfect. She pulled her legs up close and wrapped her shawl around her legs and her shoulders. Her shawl was all warm and fluffy. It was a knitted one that she crocheted herself. It was the softest wool and she loved it. It was her favorite. And then Corriannda started to read the book that she was reading. She wanted to just relax and enjoy the space. enjoy the spell that she created, the spell that was going to warm her home. The very special steaming pot that she created was doing its magic. And Corriannda was very, very happy. She was such a good witch, she thought to herself. The end.